What's up, man?
Not much. Just chilling on the way to deliver a load. I drive a truck for a living. But anyway, so calling because my wife has a daughter from a previous marriage, so technically my stepdaughter. And we've been talking about trying to get custody back. We tried a few years ago when she was 3. It didn't work out.
Why did your wife lose custody?
It was a mixture of voluntary and then just I'm going to go back to the beginning of the story to try and keep my thoughts on track. Otherwise, I'm going to get sidetracked.
Well, I mean, it's just real. Did she have an addiction problem? Was there abuse in the home?
Oh no, nothing like that.
She just signed over voluntary custody of her child.
Her dad. Sorry.
No, it's cool, man. Take a breath, dude. You're good, man. You're good. Take a breath. What's up?
Okay. Her former mother-in-law started watching her when she was about 1.5 years.
Okay.
It was just before my wife and I got together. And she asked my wife to sign papers giving her temporary custody just for legal purposes. On the paper in Colorado where Cassie lives, the paper asks for a thing. It's got a section that asks you for how many hours the parents are going to visit the child. And her former mother-in-law put 5 hours just to start with, claiming it was legal purposes, but that she'd have access to the kid no matter what. And then following that, she started following those 5 hours religiously. Like it was 5 hours a week, no more, no less, for pretty much the whole time my wife and I were together until we got married.
So basically what you're saying is, hold on. So what you're saying is your stepdaughter's grandmother falsified documents, tricked the mother of her granddaughter into signing papers that she didn't fully get, that signed custody away of her daughter, limiting to 5 hours a week where a mom could see her baby.
Yes and no. Her following the 5 hours religiously was part of it, but the documents were all legal and everything like that. That's not where we lost custody. Flash forward about 5 months later, my wife and I, we got married. I'd been driving truck the whole time, so we hadn't really gotten like proper honeymoons or anything. So we decided, well, why don't you come on the truck with me? We'll go out for just a little over a month. We'll go to Galveston and see my father-in-law because he lives down in Galveston. And then we'll come back right before Christmas. And then we talked to her mother-in-law and asked if Cassie could continue the visits. Cassie's the daughter, his name. Asked if we could continue the visits with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, who we were living with at the time, so that we could Skype her and see her, and so that the visits wouldn't keep the routine going. 2 weeks later, when my wife's grandma asked for a visit, she, just paraphrasing the message, former mother-in-law sent the message back saying, I'm not obligated to get the family visits. They're not continuing till Colleen gets back. So we called her. We were like, all right, we're filing for full custody. We're going to court. Flash forward another 7 months, I want to say, because her and her attorney kept pushing it forward and forward. Mm-hmm. Finally, around August, we said, all right, enough's enough. But in the 2 months leading up to that, everything fell apart for us. My mother-in-law, my wife's mother, relapsed on drugs. She trashed the house for a considerable amount of time while she was living with us. And then at the custody case...
Hold on. This is like turning into Jerry Springer, brother. Like, let's rein this all the way back in. Okay? I'll rein all the way back in. No, it's all good. It's all good. Your story's your story, man. It sounds like a mess. Okay?
It's a mess and then some.
Yes. So, where I'm not tracking with you is this. I got a 5-year-old little girl. You'd have to come through hell and back to make it to where I couldn't see my daughter. Like, I'm talking, you're going to have to shut down the city of Nashville to keep me out of seeing my daughter. And so something here doesn't pass my smell test. There's something weird going on here, that why a mother would sign over custody or some sort of 5-hour rule or some sort of hey thing, and I'm just going to take off for a month and I'll just Skype in with my daughter. None of that sounds right. And so I don't know I don't know the particulars of it, and we don't have time on this show to go all the way back into it. I just want you to know that there's something about that doesn't, and I'm not super dad either, dude. I'm just a regular old guy. Like, something there sounds screwy. But fast forward to now y'all are circling back and you want to regain custody. And how old is this little girl?
She is 7 currently. And just a brief little context. A judge turned the temporary custody thing into full custody when we went to court. And over the last few years, I'm not going to lie, we have not been perfect parents or anything close to that. We have had very limited visitation, and then trying to circle back to. But
listen, a judge only does that. A judge only does that when they're like a judge. Man, I've been through so many situations and walked alongside people who I could not believe the judge gave them back to their biological parents. But every judge I've ever seen, their bent is, how do I get these families reunited? So there was something there that the judge looked at either your current wife or that current situation and said, nope. And I just can tell you, my experience has been there's something extreme there. There's something really challenging going on in that home. You've got a mother saying, dude, I just want to be in my kid's life. That's the dream of every court I've ever seen. Now, I know not every court's perfect and there's idiots everywhere. I get that. But so now here you are 7 years later, and you're asking, how do you reinsert yourself into this daughter's life? Is that ultimately, when we distill down, is that the question?
Yes and no. We haven't necessarily left her life, but she's growing up. We're trying to reconnect with her in a proper way and see if custody can be an option a few years down the road. We're not trying to go for immediate or anything like that. We know that's not good for her. But.
Okay. And is the custody for her best interest, or is it because y'all missed your daughter and you want to start seeing her some more? Like, why now?
It's a little bit of both. Like, we will admit we've discussed it, and if we decide that if going down this road we decide it's in the best interest for her to stay with her grandmother, we will definitely make that call, because we've never been fully out of her life or anything like that. We have regular contact with her and everything like that.
But hey, I want you to hear how that sounds to me. Okay. This is her mom. Like, my wife doesn't like to leave my daughter like with a neighbor for a few hours. Do you hear what I'm saying? I don't feel like I'm being super clear. I get you. You're working hard. You're a stepdad. You are like in life. You are doing the couple hours thing. I get that. But your wife is this little girl's mom. Does that make sense? Does that register?
Yeah. So like, are you wondering what my wife is struggling with? That
No. I don't. That's a whole other show. That's a whole other call, right? Ultimately, here's what y'all are gonna have to do. You're gonna have to go to court, or you're gonna have to get with a lawyer, or go see a judge, and you're gonna have to ask for an avenue back. And there's been some sort of behaviors, whether that's addiction, whether that's abandonment, whether that's neglect, whether there's something there that a court that is designed to reunify families has said, we're not doing that in here. And I've never experienced it where there's not a series of services, there's not a plan that a mom and or a dad can work to reintroduce themselves into the life of their child. I've never seen that. It may exist in your situation. I've never seen it. Unless parental rights are terminated. You're out, right? Y'all aren't in that case because y'all still get a few hours a week or a month or whatever. But what I'm doing if I'm you, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to go get a lawyer. I'm going to go get a judge. I'm going to ask them, I want to be in the life of this girl. And I think you and I could talk for probably 2 hours or 5 hours, and I'd hear all kinds of stuff in the story. And there's probably blame to cast over, there's probably mess to cast over. I get that. But it's going to come back with you looking at somebody who has taken away most of your custody, if not all of it, and saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to let that little girl know that I love her more than life itself. And that I've made some mistakes. I haven't been, to use your words, haven't been perfect, whatever that means. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And then you're going to have to give someone to give you a plan, and you're going to have to exceed that plan. You're going to have to go to all the classes they tell you, and you're going to take extra classes. You're going to send a letter a week. You're going to write letters. Let this little girl know how much she's loved. And not so much you, but her mother is going to write letters, right? And you're going to, when you say you're going to show up, you're going to show up. You're going to be early, and you're going to drop off on time. You're going to be respectful and dignified of her living arrangement. You're going to show up at all the school meetings. You're going to show up, you're going to show up, you're going to show up. And if you live in different towns, like, we just can't do that right now, then this may not be the season for you. Because you're going to have to convince a judge or a group of lawyers, you have to convince a judge that y'all screwed up and you're ready to make it whole. And I can't wrap my... This is your daughter. Everything in the world comes after that. Everything. Everything. Your wife's work, your wife's plans, your wife's dating life, everything comes after that one thing. That's her little girl. And I'll burn it all down because I love my daughter that much. So that's where you start. Start with a judge. Start with a lawyer. And say, what's my plan back? And y'all work that plan. You exceed that plan. But not just to get custody. I'm going to get custody. No. You got a lot of healing for that little girl. And you want that little girl to grow up in a better situation than you want her kids to grow up in a better situation than she did. And she's going to have to know that her mom values her. And that starts with a lot of generational healing there, man.